Good morning. I'm filming this on the first day of Leo season, hence my Leo rising roommate's wig. Anyway, I wanted to get together with you today to talk about the astrology of 2020 because, as you and I both know, it's been a pretty crazy year and it's not over yet. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, to start off, I want to talk to you about the conjunction that happened on January 12th of this year, 2020, between the planets Saturn and Pluto. So, what does this mean? Well, to start off, I'm going to talk to you about the planets Saturn and Pluto. So, Saturn and Pluto are both very slow-moving planets, and this is because of how far away they are from us. So while Mercury has a very, very short orbit because it's very close, Pluto is very, very long. Pluto takes 248 years to make one full orbit to the same spot it was at the beginning. So it won't be in the same degree of Capricorn until another 248 years from now. Saturn, still pretty slow, still pretty big orbit, but it only takes like 29.5 years. This is why you get your Saturn return at about that age. But I'll talk about that in another video. Why am I telling you about the orbits? So that you can see, like, it's pretty rare that this happens, this like Saturn-Pluto conjunction. It doesn't happen very often. And when it does, it's a big deal. It's pretty big deal. As you will see. Stay tuned. So, Saturn is the planet of work, restrictions, limitations. It rules institutions. Basically, every structure that we have in place that we rely on is represented by Saturn. Pluto, on the other hand, very intense. Pluto is the planet of transformation, rebirth, like death and rebirth. Obsession, just very, very intense changes. Wherever you have Pluto in your chart is where you're gonna really feel this, or rather I should say wherever you have Capricorn in your chart is where you're gonna be feeling this right now, because that's where Saturn and Pluto are as we speak. So we've established Saturn and Pluto are both very, very slow-moving planets, so it's very rare for them to make a conjunction of this kind. So, what does Capricorn mean? Well, it's a good thing you have me here to tell you. Capricorn is the sign that rules government, institutions, businesses. It is the sign that is traditionally ruled by Saturn, so it's going to have a lot of Saturnian characteristics, such as that attitude of like hard work gets the job done, like put your nose down to the grindstone, like get grinding. That's why we've been all obsessed with the grind since Saturn and Pluto have been in Capricorn. See, Pluto rules obsession. Pluto's been in Capricorn since like 2008. We've been grinding since then. So Capricorn rules governments and businesses. So the most intense changes and power struggles have been happening in those spheres. Capricorn rules capitalism, just all these structures that we rely on. So we've been going through very, very intense changes with that. So what does it mean when Saturn and Pluto are conjunct? Well, a conjunction is when two planets are extremely close to each other in the same sign within just like a couple degrees. It depends what kind of orb you use. An orb is like the number of degrees separating an aspect. But on January 12th, the conjunction was exact. So that means it was a 0-degree orb. There was no distance. They met up at 22 degrees Capricorn, which is a significant degree, but I'll talk about significant degrees another time. But yeah, that kind of shape this whole year, I think. Something that you might find interesting to know is that Saturn-Pluto contacts, whether it be a conjunction, square, opposition, all aspect formations that I can get into in another video. Whatever contact it is, when Saturn and Pluto meet up, that means that the energy of these two planets are coming together, or conflicting in the case of like an opposition. So to give you an example of a Saturn opposite Pluto, hot take. So on 9/11, 2001, Saturn and Pluto were opposite each other in the signs of Gemini and Sagittarius. Gemini rules the twins. I'm sure you guys can fill in the rest. And Sagittarius rules travel and extremism, belief systems, self-righteousness. So that was a very tragic and chaotic example of Saturn opposite Pluto. It's a little different with the conjunction. The opposition suggests that it is an external force. External forces attacking each other, whereas the conjunction suggests that it is more itself, you know? So Saturn, the government, is essentially destroying itself. Look at that. Another interesting thing is that Saturn-Pluto contacts have a very, very strong correlation with epidemics. So, some examples: Spanish influenza, polio, AIDS. These were all times when, oh, might I add, the bubonic plague. These are all times when Saturn and Pluto made contacts. So, let me just say COVID is right on time. I don't know. I mean, I didn't call it, but astrologers definitely have seen this coming. I'm not going to take any credit, but this has been talked about in the astrological community for a while. This has been a big event that has been looming over us for a bit, and now we're here, so I guess we're riding it. Anyway, y'all should listen to astrologers, because like, we actually know what's up. Like, we know what's coming. Trump was a point being, the world is never the same after a Saturn-Pluto aspect. Like, think about the last time Saturn and Pluto made a conjunction. That was in the sign of Libra in like 1982 to 1984. And that was during the AIDS crisis. And that changed the way that we look at safe sex forever. Completely revolutionized it. 9/11, Saturn opposite Pluto, that completely changed national security forever. These are long-lasting impacts. Saturn and Pluto don't come to play. Like, they mean business. And that gets me back to talking about karma. I'm a little wary of talking about karma because I think people take it personally, but this is more a collective karma that I'm talking about. Saturn and Pluto come into the equation when things just can't go on the way they have anymore. Like, it's just not working. Pluto is destruction and Saturn is institutions and the way things have worked. Saturn is history. So Pluto's basically coming in to like destroy the way things have worked, to show us like, oh wait, this wasn't actually working to begin with. Like, we need to step shit up. We need to step shit up. Okay, so what else does Saturn-Pluto coincide with? Are you ready? World War I, World War II, Vietnam. Like I said, 9/11. Like, I told you, they do not come to play. Like, they mean business. They mean destruction. They mean death. I just saw today that COVID deaths have risen even more, and it's really upsetting because this is something that our government could have dealt with better. I am in the US. I really think that our government and our president, well, not my president, but the president could have done something differently to not let this happen. But that just goes to show Pluto's coming in to be like, hold up, this has not been working for a while. We're gonna make this real hard on you so you can see exactly how, you know? And that's what's happening. Saturn, Pluto always coincide with a huge amount of death, like really, really tragic loss. That's Saturn and Pluto. But we will get out of this, you know. Saturn-Pluto contacts do not last forever, and we will get out of this, but we will be changed forever afterwards. Things will not be the same. Our government will not be the same after this. And honestly, like, that's a good thing. Because like I said, it's not been working for a while. Right now, attention is just being brought to all of these huge gaps in action, I would say. Like the fact that we did not have a pandemic response team at the time of a global pandemic. That should have been addressed way earlier than this. The Black Lives Matter protests, the police brutality should have been addressed way long ago. Institutionalized racism should have been addressed a long time ago. This is just attention being brought to pre-existing issues. Racism has existed since this country was founded. Racism has existed before this country was founded. Pluto, Saturn, just drawing attention to it. They're just making us see it more clearly. This is not new. None of this is new. People die all the time. But now, because it's like a first world country, all of a sudden, like, we're paying attention, you know? But this isn't new. But the good thing, the positive side, the bright side of this is that this event is going to force governments to change. It's going to force business to change. And change is good. Change is so important. We have been so stagnant for so long. And like, change is the path to growth, okay? You cannot grow without changing. You cannot, no. So that's the good, that's the positive side. Okay, I want to talk to you more specifically about Saturn now. So on, I believe, March 23rd of this year, Saturn went into Aquarius. This coincided with the start of quarantine, at least in the US, at least for me. Around that date, school was canceled or made online. My job closed. You know, like everything ended. And it's really interesting because Aquarius rules technology. It also rules a feeling of isolation. And it rules community. So the difference between Capricorn and Aquarius in terms of its role in Saturn is that Capricorn is a very hierarchical structure, like very historical, this is how things have worked forever, like whether it be like kings and queens, or like in this country now, like these elections, electoral college, president, the three branches, etc. Whereas in Aquarius, structures want to be less hierarchical and more community oriented. Saturn wants to be more level, you know? Aquarius isn't about like status like Capricorn is. Aquarius is really about community. It's about everyone plays a part, and every part is important, and no part is like up here while another one's down here. Like, no, we're all level. We can all learn from each other. All of our unique talents are important. Saturn is what we rely on. So in times when Saturn is in Aquarius, we are going to rely on community. We are going to rely on technology. And that is exactly what happened during quarantine. I really only saw my friends over FaceTime, and then like the people I live with. I was completely reliant on technology, and I also realized how important community is and how much I wasn't really giving it enough weight. But like I said, Saturn is weight. Saturn is significance. Saturn is importance. And when Saturn moves into Aquarius, we all have to value those things more. We all have to realize, like, wow, I actually need a community. Like, I feel really isolated right now. So that's kind of how quarantine was for me. Saturn then retrograded back into Capricorn, where it is now. So it's coming closer back to the conjunction between Saturn and Pluto. They're really not that far apart right now, which leads me to believe that things are going to get worse before they get better. But I want to talk to you about an event that's happening at the end of this year. So in December of 2020, Saturn is going to go back into Aquarius. So we just got a little peek before Saturn goes into Aquarius for the next like 2.5 years, starting December. So it'll be 2021, 2022, and like halfway into 2023 is really when Saturn's going to be in Aquarius. And so when Saturn reaches the first degree of Aquarius in December, it's going to meet up with Jupiter in Aquarius. And Jupiter rules expansion. Jupiter rules optimism. Jupiter rules like faith. This aspect really gives me a lot of hope. Like, I cannot stress that enough, that there is hope. Like, there is hope. I really think that come December, the people are going to take things into their hands. Like, we as a people are going to realize, like, no, this is on us. Like, we got to take this into our hands. We cannot be relying on the government. Saturn in Capricorn wants to rely on these institutions and structures, but like, baby, we're going into Saturn in Aquarius. Like, we're going to rely on ourselves. Like, we have to rely on like our minds, our ability to connect and communicate and really see the bigger picture. Not just grind, not just work. Like, life isn't all about capitalism, bro. Like, I'm not going to get into that, but Aquarius is also the sign of revolution and progressive change. This is really, really hopeful. Now, because of the timing of this aspect, this transit, which is right after US elections, I really do believe that this will trigger a reaction to the election. But it's really hopeful, you know. Saturn's not going to go back into Aquarius after 2021 for another 30 years. So real change is coming, guys. Real change is coming. Like, you gotta believe. I'm really excited for December. I think that energy is gonna be like something really big to harness. And just like the idea of Jupiter being in Aquarius is so exciting to me. Like, really getting hopeful in the community. It also rules expansion. So the only danger in this is that Jupiter expands on anything it touches. So when Jupiter is touching Saturn, Jupiter is going to be expanding Saturn's qualities. And this includes obstacles. This includes restriction. There might be another quarantine at this time, like another true lockdown, where we really, really have to rely on technology and community to like stay sane. So that's the only danger. But like, we got this. Like, we can handle this, you know? Like, it literally just takes coming together. Like, please believe that. We will make change. Astrology will make change. Like, you gotta have that Jupiter faith. And the beautiful thing about Jupiter in Aquarius is like, that is faith in our minds. Like, that is faith in our ability to like think creatively and really like contextualize ourselves within the global collective, because Aquarius is the collective. We're no longer going to be contextualizing ourselves within the government, within these businesses. Like, no, it's going to be like, okay, who are the people you fuck with, you know? Anyway, I'm really excited. That's how 2020 is finishing off. There's obviously a lot of transits sprinkled in between. I might get into those in other videos, but I just really wanted to talk about Saturn and Pluto. Cheers.